He is the new head coach of the Washington football team, spent 9 years with the Panthers. Ron Rivera joining us on the program. Do you got business cards made up, Coach, that say head coach of the Washington football team?
No, not yet, Dan. We've had to. We're going to have to get those changed over. And again, it's an opportunity for us to really think about what we want to become and go forward. What we've done is we've pretty much put a placeholder in place, and it allows us to really take the 12 to 18 months it's going to take to do this right.
How involved are you in this?
I'm very involved. Mr. Snyder and I talked before the July 3rd announcement that we were going to take a deep dive into our name and what it's going to take to change it. Then on the 13th, we talked about coming out and announcing that we are going to retire the name and the logo. And then yesterday's announcement on the 23rd, basically telling everybody that because it's going to take us 12 to 18 months to do this right, we're going to put a placeholder in place. And again, we're going to call ourselves the Washington football team for at least the year. We've put out what the uniforms are going to look like. They're very clean. It's been fun because our players have reacted very well. They like the clean look. They like the fact that we've kept the burgundy and gold. And I think the big part of that, more so than anything else, is there's so much history and tradition with the colors. So we want to at least make sure that stayed. And our Alabama players seem to like the fact that you're going to have their numbers on the side of their helmets.
You said that this might be 2 years.
Well, it's going to take time. Obviously, we don't expect it to take 2 years, but it's a process, and we're going through the process. We've gone through the first few steps. We have a firm that's involved, and they're taking the dive with us. They've been very, very thoughtful. They wanted to make sure they're very inclusive in the activities that they're doing to try and determine what's going to help us determine what's going to be the best name for us going forward. This is a name we want to stand, as Mr. Snyder said, for at least 100 years.
It's tough enough to win in the National Football League. You know that as a player. You know that as a coach. And then you walk into a situation like this. You got a second-year quarterback. You got drama here with everything. I mean, this is difficult. And then you become the de facto spokesperson, and you've only been there 6 months, Coach. This is tough.
Yeah, it is. But also, if we do this right, this is something that can help galvanize us as well. It can galvanize not just the team, but the organization, and not just the organization, but the community. And again, if we do this right, if we present this in the right fashion, if we go out and do the things that we've told everybody we're going to do, we're working on changing the culture, creating a positive workplace environment for our employees, something that we can all be proud of and come to work and do things the right way, draw the community together as we go through this rebranding process. We need to do that. We need to do it the right way, and we've got to do it the right way because, again, there's a lot at stake in terms of not just the football, but the organization and the community as well.
He's Ron Rivera. He spent 9 years with the Panthers. Did you bring any Panthers gear with you to Washington?
I did. I've got some. I've got some memorabilia. I've got some great photos. Some of the great players that I had an opportunity to coach and be around.
But no team gear.
No team gear. No team gear. We had a yard sale when we left. No, we did. We raised $30,000. It was Tammy Reed's idea. She called Stephanie and said, when we left Philly, we had a yard sale. We made a lot of money and gave it to charity. Well, Stephanie came up with the idea. We worked with the Humane Society of Charlotte, and we did this 3.5 hours. We raised $30,000 and went directly to the Humane Society of Charlotte. So even though I let go of a lot of personal stuff, it was cleansing as well. It really was.
How about the Redskins? Have a yard sale.
We've talked about that. Believe it or not, we because a lot of that stuff is iconic, and there's a lot of people that really believe in the name, just because of the history of it, and it was an organization that was revered. We believed, and I did because I was one of those guys. I grew up with the Redskins, and believe me, that was an iconic name, and the logo was iconic. It's an actual Indian chief. And so, I treated it with reverence, with respect. And there are a lot of people in this community that still view it that way. But, knowing how it affects some people in the community, it's one of the things that we realize that we have to go forward, and we're going to go from here.
When you saw that Cam Newton signed with the Patriots, your reaction was what?
I was excited. I really was because, I thought all along that there were a couple teams that would have been really good for him. And I always felt the Patriots was one of them. When Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, I thought, that might not be a bad spot for him because of the style of offense, because of the things that they asked the quarterback to do.
But what am I missing though with that coach? Because we kept saying he's not a backup quarterback. I mean, Cam Newton is, he's a starter. He's not going to be a
Yes.
backup quarterback. And then he
Yes.
had these workout videos. So I don't know if teams weren't able to kick the tires because they couldn't physically, meet him. But by all accounts, he looks great.
Yes.
So what am I missing here that other teams didn't want to bring him in?
Well, I think the not being able to really look at him, bring him in, and work him out, I think that had a lot to do with it. I mean, think about it. For the last 2 seasons, he's struggled with the injuries. He really has, and and not having him at 100%, not being able to play his best, I think reflected that way. And a lot of folks didn't think, well, maybe he's lost it. But the one thing I've always said is don't bet against Cam, especially when he has something to prove. I thought in 2015, coming off the 2014 season, even though we got in the playoffs in 2014, he didn't play his best. 2015, he played unbelievable. In 2016, he had an off year. He was hurt. Came back in 2017 and had just a great year that got us into the playoffs. And then in 18 and 19, he was hurt. And so I think he has something to prove. I think he's going to prove something. I like the fact that Coach Belichick and what they want to do offensively, I think that's going to suit him. And plus, I think Josh McDaniels is creative enough to use Cam's skill set to the best of his ability. So I'll watch them. I'll be excited about watching them.
I was always wondering about the rules with quarterbacks, and I don't think they applied to Cam the way they did other quarterbacks. And I don't know if his size, his athleticism worked against him because I was there at that Denver game.
Mm-hmm.
They beat him up. I mean,
Yes.
I thought that there should have been guys who should have been fined or ejected.
Yep.
They were targeting him.
Yes, and that's how I felt. I mean, again, that's just my opinion. But the rules. To me, I always thought he kind of got the Shaq treatment. When Shaq used to get hacked underneath and he didn't get, the fouls weren't called, but somebody else get hit that way, and then the flags would come, or the penalties would be called. I will say, as you look at the young quarterbacks that are out there now, I mean, I know Michael Vick set the trend, and then all of a sudden you've got Cam Newton out there. Now you've got the Patrick Mahomes, and you look at what he's done and how he's done it. These big, strong, athletic quarterbacks that are tough to bring down, that can extend plays, that can move around in the pocket and create. Those are the guys that are going to become dangerous. You're going to see, the passing of the torch in terms of the style of quarterbacks, because you don't see a lot of Aaron Rodgers coming out or Tom Brady's anymore. You see these these types of guys are going, and these young athletic guys are really, I think, coming to the front.
I had an NFL scout who said that, when a coach takes over a team, the first thing he looks at, he wants to know who his quarterback is. And
Yep.
if you're sold on that quarterback. So
Yep.
at what point did you see enough where you said, hey, Dwayne Haskins is going to be my quarterback?
Well, I've seen enough to say that he's going to compete to be our quarterback. If you really go down and you watch those last 4 games that he started and played,
Yep.
You feel pretty good about him. You really did. I did, that's for sure. But as I said, though, I'm not saying he's our starting quarterback. What I am saying is he's in position to be our starting quarterback. He showed enough that I believe that we have to give him a look. And I'm going to be very honest. That's why I didn't jump out and try to get Cam signed right away, because I have to watch Dwayne and see where he is. I can't stunt his growth. We've got to give him the opportunity to show us what he can or can't do.
I agree with you on that. The last 4 games, I saw something there, but I didn't see that earlier. Like I think Jay Gruden kept saying he's not ready. We don't want to put him out there, and then he got out there and he didn't look good at all. But the last month of the season, then I go, there's a chance for him to succeed.
Well, when I got to Carolina, and the first thing that Marty Herney and I talked about was we have to establish who our quarterback's going to be. Is he on the roster? Is he in free agency, or will he be through the draft? And we saw Cam, and we saw everything that Cam did, and we said this is going to be our guy. So we had a plan going in to have Cam as our guy. I named him the starter early on in camp. We worked it that way with him. He took the bulk of the reps. And then once we got started, he took every rep. When you have a Derek Anderson as your backup quarterback who doesn't need reps, Cam got every rep. I mean, we had this little saying that guys have to get 5,000 reps before things become natural. And really what happened was by the end of Cam's second year, when we started to ascend, that's when you really felt, okay, this guy's going to be who we hope he's going to be. And then by our third season, we have our playoff run, and it really showed.
You were drafted by the Bears, 1984. Of course, played with that great Bears team that won the Super Bowl. What's your favorite story that you tell from that Chicago Bears experience? Can you tell?
Well, there's a lot of great stories, but more so than anything else, I talk about the memories. I talk about the guys that I got to be around. Hang out with Dan Hampton and play golf with him, and be around Steve McMichael and learn from Mike Singletary and watch how great a teammate that Jimmy McMahon was. Got to know some of those great offensive linemen that we had, and watch guys like Jimbo Covert get into the Hall of Fame last year. I mean, there's so many great things that I was fortunate to be part of. One of my favorite things that I always tell a story about is after Coach Dick came back from his heart attack and the players found out he was coming into the facility, Dan Hampton and Steve McMichael ran upstairs, went into his office, opened up his good wine, and started smoking his cigars in his office. And Coach Dick walked in and saw the two of them sitting there, and he had a few choice words for them. I mean, they were his favorites. They were a couple of his favorites, and he kind of let them get away with it. But it was pretty funny. And then he told us, the rest of the guys, don't any of you guys get any ideas, all right?
That sounds like something McMahon would do.
Yeah. It probably is, but I don't think Jim's a wine guy.
No, he's not. He's certainly a beer guy.
Yes, he is.
And maybe some other things that he might smoke. But you were there. Your rookie year is when Peyton broke the rushing record as well.
Yes. Walter was one of the really great ones. I mean, he really was, and he had it. And what was really neat, though, was the way he included everybody. I'll never forget when he first met my mother and father and the way he treated them from that point on. It was like he had known my dad for 20 years. And every time he'd see my dad, he'd take my dad over. Hey, let's go get a beer, Gino. And he'd take my dad and buy him a beer. I mean, it was really cool. And he's also was really instrumental in me starting my coaching career. He had gone to Ed McCaskey to get me a coaching job with the Bears. And what happened was Mr. McCaskey brought me in on Walter's request or direction. And I sat down, had a great conversation. And the following year, after the season was over, I met with Dave Wanstead, and Coach Wanstead gave me my first chance, and it was an amazing thing, and the rest is history from that point.
That's pretty cool. He's the head coach of the Washington football team. He's Ron Rivera. I applaud you. I said this a week ago that you're the spokesperson. I don't think it's fair that you're the spokesperson, but you're the stand-up guy there, and you're taking it all upon yourself. Not many coaches are able to do this and probably willing to do it. So I wish you well, Ron. It's tough enough to win in the NFL, but you got some other hurdles to overcome, and we appreciate you joining us.
No, thanks, Dan. I appreciate being on.
That's Ron Rivera.